This is a Media Lab podcast. Welcome to Putting It Together, the podcast that goes through the entire body of work of Stephen Sondheim, show by show and song by song. My name is Kyle Marshall, your self-described Sondheim expert. We are doing a Sondheim adjacent episode here today. I get to talk to singer-songwriter Eleri Ward, who I have become a really big fan of over the last couple of weeks. Eleri Ward, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure. I love talking about this stuff. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think where we really need to start, kind of the purpose of this podcast, of course, is to talk about Stephen Sondheim. But what I know inspired you to be like, I need to make an entire album of his songs?
It's funny because I don't think I ever made that declaration. I think the declaration made itself to me. I had been making these covers just sporadically since the beginning of 2019. Whenever I sort of was in the mood, whenever the creative juices struck me. And it wasn't until I joined TikTok early last year that people really responded to these arrangements that I had sort of like backlogged onto TikTok. Mm-hmm. And I found an audience that I didn't even know I had, who really enjoyed my take and wanted me to put my music out on streaming platforms. So I sort of just didn't think twice. I said, okay. And at that point, I think I had like 7 or 8 that I had already done. And I was like, well, that's like close to being a full album. Like, why not just add a few more and like, I'll just do a whole thing.
Yeah.
It was just a whim of an idea that sort of happened upon me. And then it became this thing that I never would have guessed.
I've talked about my story, but sorry, in this podcast, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, I'm just going to start this thing and see where it goes. And then it kind of snowballs into something else. Where did that, I guess, love of Stephen Sondheim start then for you? Like, was there a specific show you saw first?
I mean, I think my love of Sondheim really began in high school. I went to Chicago Academy for the Arts for musical theater, and I had insanely amazing teachers, Pat Rusk and Andy Robinson, who instilled so much of Sondheim's work into us as students. And we kind of always did at least like one Sondheim show a year, I think, and always did scene study and like song study of Sondheim. They were the first people to show me the company cast recording documentary. They were the first people to show me the Sondheim 80th birthday concert for the first time. They kind of like enveloped me in all of this like Sondheim culture that I had never fully dug into before, being a 14-year-old. You know, all the musical theater that you do prior to that is, I don't know, not as complex as Sondheim is. And so it just sort of opened my mind to what musical theater could be. And I think it really was, they had shown us the company revival with Raul Esparza one day, and it just like blew my mind. And I think that really changed me. Company has been like that, and Sweeney Todd are my like 2 favorite musicals, and therefore my 2 favorite Sondheims. And we did Company my junior year of high school.
That's hilarious.
That's all you need to know about how special Chicago Academy for the Arts is. Okay. And I just remember us learning the opening number on the first day of rehearsal. And it was the most challenging, amazing thing that I've ever learned up until that point. And I was just in love. And I think that really was the biggest seed that was planted and has just grown ever since.
Were you in a specific role in Company?
Yes, I was Amy.
You were Amy. Okay. So you got to sing the marriage song.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Fun. How fast can you sing it?
Yeah, I went full speed. I went original Broadway cast recording speed.
Okay, because there are some productions that actually do slow it down a bit depending on the performer. So
But the faster the better for that song. It makes sense,
right,
character-wise, you know?
Have you been able to see the new company on Broadway?
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
It was very emotional because prior to Sondheim's death, my boyfriend had gotten us tickets for the Saturday after he passed. And so I mean, we had no idea when we bought these tickets, but it was literally the day after. And that was,
oh, wow.
That was very intense to see my favorite. It was my first time seeing my favorite show live. I had only seen recordings of Company up until that point. So seeing it live for the first time and seeing a Sondheim show just after he had passed away was just a doubly emotional event.
I bet. Because I saw some videos, I don't know if that was the same night specifically, of Marion Elliott and Patti LuPone coming out on stage and just speaking to hey, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
We're going to dedicate this performance to him type of thing. So I'm sure it was pretty emotional just to be in an audience even a couple days after.
Yeah, it really was.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but just by the sounds of it, were you releasing music before 2019? Were you, any type of online presence, I guess?
I really was just posting random covers that I would do or songs that I would write to Instagram, which at that point was really just my friends.
Sure.
It just was a creative outlet sort of thing of oh, I have this song stuck in my head. I'm just going to create my own cover of it. And that be the little video that I post that day. And whatever kind of longer, more involved covers or songs that I had written, I would post to YouTube. But primarily it was just this is for fun. This is for me and
right.
my friends and, whatever.
Well, I just have to say it's remarkable because, prepping for this interview here today, of course, I listened to the full album of A Perfect Little Death. That's the one that has all of the Sondheim covers onto it. But I also went out and checked out your EP Friction. And I am obsessed with your song called More.
Oh,
I think it's so great.
Thank you. Yeah.
What you thinking? Lay it on me, just like you do with your body. Speak all the words that you read in your books. Speak all the moments, all the touches, all the looks. Inside the silence you feel fine. And so I smile and lose my mind. Use your lips to do more than just kiss me. It's on the tip of
So it's one of this weird thing where it's well, obviously she must have been performing for the last few years to get to this point, but that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, I mean, I've the past few years, since I graduated college and moved to New York, I've really just been hustling and doing the audition grind, trying to live Broadway dreams,
Yeah.
And I've written music since I was quite young. And it's always been something that I love to do. And I went to Berklee College of Music for a year for songwriting, thinking that was an endeavor I wanted to explore a little bit more deeply after having done musical theater all throughout high school. I ultimately transferred to the Boston Conservatory for musical theater because that is my first love. But I was still able to study songwriting at BOCO as well, which was the perfect balance. And it's just something that has continued to live within me, perhaps not in the spotlight, but it will never not be on stage. And when it comes to my own original music, it's something that I feel the need to release, even if it is just for myself.
Right.
Because it just brings me so much joy to make pop music. It's so different from my Sondheim stuff. But it's in that way, it's kind of freeing.
To that point, I guess there's two questions here. So let me break it up. When it comes to doing a cover, what is your approach to adapting that into your own voice? Arranging it. That's the word I was looking for. How do you arrange that properly?
I gotcha. I don't actually know. I feel like my arrangements happen in a similar way to how I write music from the ground up. I always kind of attribute it to magic because I don't think there's any real logistical or technical explanation for how it happens. Because I'm not.
It's just a big cauldron you're stirring in front of you.
Yes, and then the music just like comes out. That's what it feels like, though. I just hear stuff in my head. I don't really think about it. I taught myself how to play guitar, and I don't know how to play. I guess
Gotcha.
I've never taken a lesson. I don't know guitar theory. I don't know the chords that I'm playing, really, unless I'm like sitting down at the piano and transcribing it onto piano in order to know. But yeah, it's very organic in that way, and I can't really explain it. It's just something where either I pick up the guitar and I just start playing and see what happens, and it just sort of comes out. And when it comes to the background vocals and like how I want the layering to be, I just hear it all in my mind. Or if I'm listening to it as I'm recording it and listening back, I then fill in the spaces with what I hear in my mind. So yeah, it's not the most clear explanation. If someone finds out how that works, please let me know. But yeah.
I'm sure there will be some point in our future where you can literally just like, I don't know, plug something into your temple and it'll just like transcribe it down. Like, there, perfect, beautifully written.
That would be really useful.
The follow-up to that was for like your original music, specifically talking about lyrics. Do you follow any rules that way? I mean, like Sondheim himself wrote like these 2 massive volumes on like how to do great theater lyric writing.
Right.
But is there anything like that, or just again kind of flows out how you hear it or think about it?
Yeah, it definitely flows out, and I am definitely a music first person, or the lyrics come out with the melody at the same time. But I'm never like, oh, I wrote this poem and I put music to it. That seems so like weird to me. How people can do that is like mind blowing. But yeah, it just sort of comes out. I'm not someone who enjoys forcing any sort of music thing onto myself, because then it doesn't feel like it's meant to be that way. I like everything to come out in its true and natural form. That's how it's meant to live and arrive. And lyrically, I just sort of go with what feels right. I mean, you can kind of tell when you listen to something and it's not quite, it might rhyme, but it might not even feel right. I mean, sometimes the thing that feels right is like totally not rhyming at all. So right. And when it comes to structure as well, like I just go with what feels right. It could be just a verse song, it could be just a verse chorus song. Like it could be any one of those structures, as long as it feels like it's the way that story needs to be told.
It sort of reminds me, it's a very long endeavor, but there's this, I can think 7 or 8 hour long documentary called Get Back about the Beatles. That's on Disney Plus.
So good. It's so good.
Well, I was gonna. It's like, I love this part where Paul McCartney's literally just like noodling around on the guitar and then like writes Get Back in 15 seconds.
I know.
Like, yeah, I guess this will work. It's like, wait, what? Stop.
I know. I watching that was so cool to see I sit here on my piano or my guitar and I am just like bipping and bopping and like not saying real words, but then they become real words somehow, but they just come out. And like watching that happen in real time with a song that like we all know so well it was so inspiring.
Is there a Sondheim song that you have not released yet that you're like working on or like trying to find a way to adapt?
Yes. So I'm going to start working on my second album.
Oh, great.
And a few of them are like puzzle pieces at the moment. Like I have a part of them down, but it's like, it's like I have the skeleton down, but I have no idea how it's going to be fleshed out. And I have no idea what clothes it's going to wear and how it's going to do its hair, or like, but the bones are there, and the bones are going to be the things that I rely on to inform the rest.
On the A Perfect Little Death album, you know, it does have a bunch of different shows. There's Company, Sweeney Todd, A Little Night Music is represented there. I want to focus in on one song that I think is becoming more well known because it is performed in some of the concerts and the Sondheim celebrations. But it's Take Me to the World, which is, you know, from Evening Primrose, which is a musical that no one has heard of.
I know.
I don't know. What made you want to adapt that song?
Well, my friend Kaylin suggested I do it. And I was like, oh, I like forgot about this song. And at that point, my primary connection to Evening Primrose is I Remember. I mean, that was a song that I sang like as an audition song, like in high school and stuff. But Take Me to the World, I had really only known as like a soprano type, like audition cut. And all that I could like conjure is the take me to the world. Like that's all that came up in my mind. I was like, okay, this could be actually really cool that I don't know it as well, because then I can just like allow the ideas to take form and not have any preconceived notions. So I took Kaylin's request and I listened to it and I just knew what I wanted to do with it. It was a bit of a puzzle piece in terms of like, just because the structure of the original song is like super weird and there's lines and stuff.
That's right.
And I just needed to sit with it in terms of how it was going to structurally play out for me duetting myself and how I wanted my background vocals to emulate the orchestration. Because that was a thing that I wanted to do throughout the album is I'm only giving myself guitar, some keyboard, and primarily my voice. How am I going to create my own orchestra with those things? And I wanted Take Me to the World to be this like kind of creepy, hopeful thing because it is like it literally is. It
is a creepy show too, so I think it adds into that.
So it's like
that feeling.
How can I take in the original arrangement? There's the and I was like, how can I make that like a part of the eerie feeling that I get when I listen to this? And so I sort of made it this like ghostly voice supporting it. And yeah, it was very fun to make.
Yeah, I call it because it's my favorite one from the album. And it's like, I love that song anyways, but it's like, this sounds like a new, kind of like a new take on something that I've heard a bunch of different times. I mean, this is kind of like the question always for a few musicians, where can people find your music? And is there a spot that you would prefer them to get their music?
Yeah, you can find my music anywhere you stream, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, literally whatever you use, it is there. You can purchase hard copy CDs on Amazon as well as my own website, eleriward.com. And I mean, when it comes to the streaming situation and how little money is in that, it'd be great if you bought the album, like on iTunes or wherever. But, you know, just even if you stream it and you like share it, like that, that really goes above and beyond, like more than you can imagine.
Do you find this, because you were mentioning how you're putting onto TikTok, do you have people that are using your music in their TikToks at all?
Yeah.
What's that feeling like?
It's so wild. Like, I don't know. It's weird when you're so used to just being like your only fan of your own stuff. And like, you're the one who uses it because you want to like promote it and like put it out there. And then when people just use it in the background of their TikTok just because they like it, I'm like, oh, I'm not the only one like using this. This is really cool.
This tells you so much more about my personality and my own like psychosis. I remember the first time like a non-person I knew listened to one of the podcasts I did, and my first was like, why are you listening to this? Like, who are you? But it's great. That's the part of the purpose of this, is sharing it with other people.
Right.
Now, be aware this episode is most likely coming out on like February 28th, so the end of February.
Right.
But yeah, is there ways for people to come and see you live at all?
So both of my Joe's Pub shows are sold out. Okay. So At this
No,
point,
basically.
no, but yes, because I do have an April 7th show in Florida at Free Fall Theater, and there are absolutely tickets available for that. And I'm opening for Josh Groban this summer. So if you go to joshgroban.com, you will find all the tour dates and cities and tickets. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, last thing here then, of course, if people wanted to stay in contact with you, see what you're up to, of course, is there an easy way to do so online?
Absolutely. You can find me at Eleri Ward anywhere on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I'm on all the things. So, yeah.
Perfect. Great. Thank you, Eleri.
Thank you. I'm so happy that I could be here.